For the past year, I've been researching the practice of public officials and community members removing basketball hoops from public courts in an effort to deter crime. Before I go any further, I think it's important that you understand the ecosystem and history that has created this situation. As I hope to show you through this presentation, hoop removal is actually a byproduct of a much larger problem and contributes to very serious disparities between children in the United States. This is me at age 8, posing for a photo taken by my mom before my first official game of basketball. This is an important day for me because from this point on, I became memorized by the game and is held as a special place in my heart to this day at age 23. For most of my youth, when questioned about the future, I always was dead set on being a basketball player. As I got older and developed other interests, my younger self's propensity to play ball began to not sit quite right with me. As I became more exposed to the complexities of America's past, I gained insight into the turbulent and problematic relationship that the Black community has with sports. So when I originally began investigating this topic as my senior thesis, my focus was more broadly examining the relationship between American sports and America's history. This relationship rose to a climax in 2016 when Donald Trump decided to condemn NBA and NFL players for their social justice activism in the wake of countless young Black men and women being murdered by the police on a daily basis. Looking at the current and political social climate, there are several shadows echoing the racist and backward association between Black men and criminality. Trump's decision to condemn these players marked a key political and racial division in American sports and also promoted a dangerous psychological association between Black men and basketball and athletics in general. This association we as a country hold dates as far back as early European colonialism and really digs itself into American culture after the transatlantic slave trade, when the Black community, especially Black men, were first charged with two accusations. The first being that Black men possess physical superiority, which not only creates an unrealistic standard, but implies that our physicality is a trade off for our intellect and our intelligence. The second charge is that Black men are more prone to crime and violence than their white counterpart. As ridiculous and as unfounded as both claims are, they have deeply rooted themselves into the subconscious of both Black and white America. A large reason for these beliefs remaining relevant in the mindset of American citizens is due to media representation. Black culture has largely entered the mainstream media through the lens of white entertainment. We see the media's obscurity of African American culture in music labels and movie production companies that are predominantly white owned and directed, yet export and control to the majority of Black artists. This is particularly relevant in sports, where out of 32 professional basketball teams, there's only been two Black team owners in its history, one of which being Michael Jordan. The purpose for this in-depth analysis of African American history is meant to illustrate that when media associates crime with basketball, the undeniable and unspoken narrative is that crime is being associated with Black men, which is simply unfounded. An unfortunate byproduct of America's distortion of the Black community is that local neighborhood basketball courts are being removed in an attempt to prevent crime. The media's narrative surrounding crime in basketball courts seems to draw a direct correlation between the two, even though there is zero statistical proof provided to confirm this belief. In fact, there's far more proven research on the benefits that basketball brings to a community rather than the damage that it does. So a very specific example of a park that is currently experiencing hoop removal. I chose this park in Chicago because I believe it's the perfect representation of the problem on a micro level. Chicago is also a city that is experiencing over 50% of their public hoops removed. This is Bronco Billy Playlot, and it's located in uptown Chicago. On June 1st, Alderman James Kappelman decided to remove these hoops in what he called an aggressive attack on crime. It's important to note that Uptown has been undergoing changes, adding condos, restaurants, and shops, which has resulted in gentrification of what was originally majority Black and Hispanic residents. In 20 years, there's not been any recorded violence at the park. When a prominent Chicago newspaper questioned the alderman on his decision to remove the hoops, he responded, "If you can show me research showing a benefit from basketball in an unsupervised setting where gang recruitment is going on, I'll reconsider." I mean, this statement lacks any statistical backup. I don't know about you, but out of the literal thousands of pickup games I've played throughout Chicago and New York, I've never been invited to join a gang. As a result of hoops being removed in primarily lower income neighborhoods, many of these families can't afford to put their kids in a program or league, so their only access team-based physical activity has been severely hampered or in many cases completely removed. Access to sports at a young age is important because it helps to produce adults who are healthier both physically and mentally. It also instills lessons in discipline, teamwork, and resilience. It also statistically leads to better grades, higher graduation rates, and longer life expectancy. This is what racism in 2020 looks like: small and seemingly inconsequential actions leading to detrimental systematic inequalities. My solution is to essentially create a program under the title Take Back the Court. This will be a nationwide effort allowing neighborhoods experiencing hoop removal, crime fighting tactics to apply for a corporate grant under the name, association, and mass power of Take Back the Court. So essentially, the initiative starts with the residents of neighborhoods experiencing hoop removal. Since there is extremely limited information on what parks are actually being affected, we need the community to be involved in reporting. However, as soon as they report it, the pressure is removed from the community and placed on us, where we will do everything we can to apply for grants, raise awareness, and pressure policymakers, and work with the community to find solutions until the hoops are restored. Once the hoop is restored is when the real difference can be made. We can't ignore the fact that hoops were removed from predominantly lower income neighborhoods and is affecting primarily at-risk youths who are already facing so many existing disadvantages. It's important that these kids are empowered to fight for their right to equal access. So once the hoops are back, we want to host regular events and workshops aimed at educating and inspiring creativity through the powerful driver of sports. This project has been a learning process since the very start, and I don't expect to come with the perfect solution at the end of the year. My goal is to continue to develop and test different iterations and systems and design interventions with my two goals in mind: support young people to identify and collectively challenge the factors that threaten their security and well-being, and to just let the kids play ball. Thank you.